Greetings and salutations, and we are once again going to go into Hell difficulty on the One Talent Challenge in Hardcore. Now, we managed to beat Bale, and I know that you've got some people out there that are like, well, yeah, but you've got the wolves to take the damage. You're kind of playing a passive role because you're just in the back and the Thorns is doing all the heavy lifting. It's true, the Thorns is doing all the heavy lifting. I'll be the first to admit that.
So it begins.
This technically should have gone up earlier at 8 a.m., but with yesterday being hectic, being that it was election day and a lot of other things, with yesterday being a hectic mess, I decided to, I was so busy and I was exhausted by the time I got back from doing everything I needed to do, that I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna relax at night, and I did. Stopped off, saw some friends, but I had a full day yesterday, and I didn't get to recording last night, so I recorded today. And this is gonna go up immediately after it's done. So, immediately after I'm done recording, it's gonna go up. I got to thinking about my Black Ops 6 gameplay. And I'm going to get back into doing that. I'm going to have to continue the storyline here where applicable. But as I'm doing that, I'm also thinking about what's the best way for me to go about finishing it? Do I like play through the game slowly until I get to the point where I left off in the previous video when it messed up? And if so... Wow, my wolves just got absolutely mulched. If I do that and I pick up to where I left off, it makes me wonder... Jeez. Will it work? And I honestly don't know. If it does, that'll be even better. I mean, it does take longer to get through the gameplay because it's on veteran, but I also like the challenge. And I know there are some people out there that are like, who cares about the Black Ops 6 storyline? I mean, I don't usually play the games for the storylines, but at the same time, there's no reason not to. Or, or should I just kind of start going into the whole but will it snipe on hardcore already? I mean, there's not a whole lot of weapons. Season 1's coming out, though, on the Battle Pass. So I'm looking forward to that. The difficulty gap I'm noticing right now. Not entirely, but I'm noticing a little bit of a difficulty leap, between last difficulty, between Nightmare and Hell. I mean, realistically speaking, the enemies have a lot more health, they do a lot more damage. I mean, effectively, yes, they would be doing more damage to themselves because of the thorns, but, I mean, if they chew through my wolves, then that's kind of problematic, because then I'd have to pretty much, like, rapid summon them. We'll see, though. But I'm tossing around the idea of starting, maybe just doing some Black Ops 6 shenanigans and just playing the game to play the game, you know what I mean? I mean, I kind of have to know, do people want to see me finish the storyline on campaign pistols only? Or do they want me to, like, what do they want to see? Because, I mean, I could ditch doing the campaign pistols only, and I could just ditch the campaign altogether on the videos, and then just finish it in my own time. But I feel like that would be disingenuous because I started that series and then it didn't fly. And I think the reason why I like to challenge myself in games like that is because you come to a point where you have you have people that play games and they sit there and they say, "Oh, well, you play the game on the easiest difficulty because you like to enjoy it and have fun and have a good time." Okay, well, that is true for most, you know, reasoning. I like to challenge myself in games. I like to, you know, put things more difficult for me, mostly because I want to see if I can overcome it. It's a self-imposed challenge, effectively. Other than that, it's just good fun for me. And people do like to watch it because there's that modicum of, oh, he's doing something somewhat crazy, like the whole one talent challenge thing. You know, it is kind of craziness because like in normal Diablo, you get access to all your talents, and your builds come out to be pretty solid and a well thought out build. Me, on the other hand, I'm just winging it, you know. I don't know. It's some serious craziness for sure. But I like it. I like doing oddball things. I mean, look at my Pokemon. You know, all the Pokemon I like to run are all, um, you know, off meta picks. There, that ought to stop him. This is getting a little dicier than I thought, but you know what? That's why I'm here. There. Get some separation between me and the enemy. Let's see. Right there, that those fallen shaman resurrecting is what's the big problem there. Ooh, giant sword. But, like I was saying earlier about I like doing things off, off balance, off kilter, off meta. I've always been that way. I've always been the one to, to kind of buck the system and look at things from a different point of view, different perspective. Not just to be, a hipster or overly contrarian, but more so because it's unorthodox, and sometimes that unorthodoxy is exactly the remedy. I mean, if you think about it, unorthodoxy is the remedy to boredom. And truthfully, it is. I mean, you could do things a very orthodox way. Like, for example, play Dark Souls, right? Play Dark Souls and then do the exact build that everyone else does. Do the very orthodox build that everyone else uses. Deviate nothing. Just be the same thing that other people are doing, right? And when you do that, what happens? Well, the game's easy, and you get bored of it. How many times do you play through Dark Souls before you decide to make it harder? And be like, oh, I'm not going to use armor. Or I'm going to build this unorthodox build where I maximize my damage at the cost of self. You know? I'm sure other people have done it. There's plenty of other speedrunners out there that do it. And but the speedrunners do it for expediency reasons. I do it for fun factor. And that's the thing, is video game players will always try to push themselves to do something different. And it's always for a reason. Sometimes it's for expediency, sometimes it's for fun factor. And, you know, like I said, I'm a very unorthodox game player. So to me, it's... Wow, those wolves are getting mulched. Oh, my merc just got mulched. I see. Okay, this is it has now gone off the rails, and we have now hit what I like to call full-blown WTF mode. I mean, it took that much to get one unique monster down. That's problematic. No, like, you know, I'm sure everybody's pushed their boundaries in a video game before, and they probably even pushed their boundaries in other things as well. And it's fine. Like, being able to do that and being able to say, aha, well, I beat this game doing this. It's like I was going to say it's like boasting, but it's not necessarily exactly like boasting. Yes, you are making a boastful remark, but when you think about it, it's like, well, let's look at it realistically. You're doing something that other people have not done, and you're doing it, like, out of pride. But not out of... it kind of falls into a weird area, because now you're talking, you know, it's not good to have pride, you know, one of the 7 deadly sins and all. I guess it's good to take pride in the work you've done. Ooh, Grimscythe. 4-slot. 4-slot Grimscythe, maybe? Perhaps? No, just ethereal. So, an absolute heap of poo. Got it. Checks out. That tracks logically. But I mean, like, taking pride in something you've done, taking pride in something you've built, that's fine, I would say. And I think that's what gamers do. And I think that the gaming industry as a whole has got 2 problems to face right now. First is placation. They need to stop placating the masses, where it's like, oh, this game is too hard. We want it easier, or we want, some variety of hand holding, and it's like, let players of games figure things out for themselves. Like, there used to be a time in an era where you didn't know where to go or what to do. You didn't have a heads-up display pointing you in the right direction. You didn't have any assistance whatsoever. The game just said, okay, so
Spent all of
y'all need to go do this. And you had to figure it out.
Welcome.
And when you figured it out, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then, of course, you'd tell your friends, which is what created a community, you see. And it was an organic community built on, you're a video game player, you're helping other video game players understand where they need to go to do certain things. And that's what the entirety of video games was built off of. It was like this pillar that it was built off of. Now, it's kind of gotten off in the weeds in the sense that you now have players that they don't really care about the gaming industry. They don't really care about other players either. They care all about being the best. Oh, bro, I'm gonna go pro, and I'm gonna be amazing, and it's all fine and well to have those aspirations. But when those aspirations overtake, I guess, being a decent individual and building a community that you could sit there and say, you know what? I helped out X amount of players the other day. I helped them be better at the game while still being true to how they play the game. Because not everybody plays the game the same way. Look at me. One talent challenge, right? Look at Black Ops. I prefer to snipe with pistols instead of sniper rifles. We all play the games differently. And in playing that game differently, if somebody came up to me and said, well, why don't you use like aim assist? Or why don't you use assault rifles? Why don't you use SMGs? Well, I mean, yeah, I could, but that's not me playing the game the way I play the game. Right? Like I play it my way. Now, if you could come up to me and say, hey, what if you did this? Like, what if you started, not functioning, what if you started functioning quietly? Using the, removing your step audio, that kind of thing. And in Black Ops, for example. And, what if you played with Dead Silence or Ninja or whatever the perk is called? Or what if you, instead of doing those, you did double time and did some other things that help you see, enemy deployables and kill streaks through walls. Not kill streaks, but you know what I mean. Stuff like that. Like, coming up with a suggestion that's not overtly saying you're playing the game unlike me, therefore you have to change. And I think that's where you have a lot of, like, lost in translation. Because there's a lot of players out there that are basically, you have to play the game the way they want you to play it, otherwise you're playing it wrong. And I sit there and I'm like, man, I don't agree with that at all. It'd be like me telling, quick scopers that they can't quick scope. I'm not telling you you can't quick scope. I'm just saying that I don't consider quick scoping a skill. That's an opinion. I'm not telling you to stop. I'm not telling you to do something differently. My opinion is quick scoping is not a skill. It's all the weapon setup and then a small bit of aim assist, and there you go. It's not really a skill. It's just how you play the game, and I don't see it as a skillful maneuver in the least. Do I think it unintentionally ruins the game? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. Because it's like, well, you're playing on standard. If you're playing on hardcore, you could drop the sniper rifle on their foot and it'll kill them. But, you're playing it on standard. You're unintentionally ruining the game because it's like, oh, well, I don't have to actually put effort into shooting this person more than once. Because I just, right click, left click. And I'm guaranteed the kill because it hit them anywhere in the center mass. Okay. Well, goodbye, mercenary. Goodbye, wolves. Goodbye, ravens. Everything's just dead now. This is never good. I had to get into that backline and start dropping shamans. If I didn't, I was going to be in a heap of trouble. I'm out of arrows. There. Ran out of ravens, too. Okay, this is getting a little tough. Let's just hope I don't meet a pack of champions again. That was pretty gnarly. But like I was saying, it's, I don't try to tell people how to play their game. Right? Not even my nephew. My nephew, when he was playing Pokemon, I taught him how to do some EV training. He wanted to make, this one Pokemon into a wall, and I'm like, well, you're welcome to try. His stats aren't very good in that regard, but you're welcome to try. I mean, crazier things have happened, right? So I just kind of let him go. And I was like, yeah, you can go and do it. You can make him into a wall. No, I'm not gonna stop you. I'm just gonna say that his defensive stats aren't all that good. So it's like I'm not trying to dissuade people from playing the game they want to play, but do I find certain things to be just not skill based? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like when I played through Modern Warfare 2019 and all I dealt with was quick scopers, it's like there's nothing skillful about that. I'm sorry. There just isn't. And then the fact that the game promoted it by saying, yes, you have to do X amount of quick scope challenges to get the camouflage. And it's like, don't promote quick scoping. Just don't. Because there are people out there that just cannot do it. Hi, I'm people out there. I can't quick scope to save my life. Never will. I'm just not good at it. Now, if I manage to randomly hit a quick scope, then I'm shocked. But 9 times out of 10, I can never hit him. Oh, mercenary's dead again. There. It's like trying to hit a target within 30 yards or 30 meters. I can't do it. I've tried. You know, if a target comes within 30 meters of me on Black Ops, chances are I don't hit him. But I've had people try to tell me how to play the game, and to me that drives apart a community. And that's the one thing that video games face to driving away a community is, hey, we're going to tell you how to play the game. No, you don't have to. I don't need a guided tour through the game. I just need you to make the game and allow me to play it. Now, I'll even go one further. The other thing that's killing the video game industry right now, and this is my pure subjective opinion, is people have stopped making games for a very specific... Like, people used to just make games and put a good storyline and everything behind it. There used to be, like, no subversive, like, underhanded... Not subversive, but there was no ulterior motive. It was, we made a game, this is the game we made, here's the storyline, isn't it lovely? That was it. And in most cases, games like that will sell well, right? They'll sell really well. And then they said, well, we need to start including, everybody to feel represented. Okay, this is where I think we've kind of gone off in the weeds, and people would say, well, wait a minute, you're saying that people don't need to be represented? I'm sorry, let me go back in time. I'm playing Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1. It's a game. It has a solid storyline. You are the Warriors of Light. You have to go you have to go reclaim the 4 crystals from the 4 elements that were corrupted. And after you claim the 4 elements from when they were corrupted, you have to go back in time to defeat Chaos. Pretty solid storyline. Alright? Typical protagonists get together. It's your bargain basement isekai anime storyline. Protagonists get together, defeat great evil by collecting pieces. Look at Legend of Zelda. How many people were represented in those? None. There was no representation. You just made a party and said, hey, I'm going to go play this game. Cool. There was no representation. People played the game for the fact that it was a game. For the fact that it was good and it was fun. And it was turn-based combat. Look at Metroid. Metroid. Everybody played Metroid because it was a fun game. Good music. You running around shooting stuff. At the game, you find out she's a woman, and you're just like, cool. And then you find out that the quicker you beat the game in, the more of Samus you get to see. This drove people to play the game more. It had replayability factor. Again, no one really represented there. No one really knew. You're playing a game, and then all of a sudden you find out the protagonist is a woman at the end of it, and you're just like, neat. And that's the thing. It's like, start taking representation out of the games. It doesn't need to check the boxes. It doesn't need to fulfill a niche. All you need is just to have a game, to have a good storyline, and be fun to play. That's it. That's the 2 criteria. Storyline, fun factor. Graphics aren't even a necessity anymore. Like, look at all the graphics. Look at all the games that have terrible graphics but are fun to play. Terraria, for example. Now, obviously, Terraria started, ticking the representation boxes, which is, okay, if that's your proclivity, fine and dandy, do it. But it's a fun game. It has good music. And it's fun to play. And the graphics are 8-bit. Look at Stardew Valley. It pretty much is Harvest Moon. And then, of course, there you go, look at Harvest Moon. Like, the reason why older games always felt better is because they weren't trying too hard. They were like, well, we just cranked out this game. It's got a banging storyline and it's got a great soundtrack. We hope you like it. That's it. There you go. There's your game. Nowadays, we've put out this game. It's got a good storyline, good soundtrack. You have to, you have to make sure you tick all the boxes for every single, intersectionality group ever. And it's like, okay, you put too much effort into ticking boxes than you did to actually building a game. Don't do that. Just build the game. Right? And people would say, well, then you upset a group. Okay, so you upset a group. You want to know what Ninja Gaiden did for the NES? Go play Ninja Gaiden for the NES. It didn't upset a group. It upset freaking everybody, man. It upset every single human being. Why? Because the game was hard. So it upset everybody. Go play Castlevania 2. Simon's Quest. It upset everybody because it was hard. Go play the old Mega Mans, which technically are Rockman in Japan. But go play them. It upset everybody because it was hard. If you're going to upset somebody, make it be about difficulty. Not about ideology. Throw ideology out of gaming completely and just start making games difficult with a story. I mean, you can even put it on a variable difficulty. I don't care. But just make the game about the story and the characters. Make the characters memorable. Well, how do you make a character memorable? Okay, you want to know how to make a character memorable? I'll never forget it. You have one character. Felt like there might have been a bug in that. There wasn't, but it felt like it. I think it was some coffee grounds. Hit the side of my teeth. Felt like it might have been a bug. One of the most memorable characters ever was a Final Fantasy VI villain. Final Fantasy III if you're in the US. But this Final Fantasy VI villain was named Kefka. Kefka. Now, let me tell you. The reason why Kefka was so memorable was because of what he did. Kefka was the absolute gaslighting champion. The guy dressed like a complete clown. I'm talking face paint and everything, right? He dressed like an evil clown. But yet, he convinced you and your party that everything you were doing was good. Meanwhile, he's having you go around poisoning the local well. Literally poisoning an entire group of people. And he convinces you that what you're doing is good. Yeah. The man was a diabolical, sadistic villain. But he was the most memorable villain in the world. Out of all the games I've played, Kefka took the cake for being a memorable villain. Just because of how it was done. It played on your sensibilities. It played on psychological warfare. And they nailed it. He was even better than Sephiroth. Of course, Sephiroth was like, well, everybody loves Sephiroth because it's, it was the shock value. I hate to say it. It was the shock value of Aerith or Aerith, depending on where your what's it called? Depending on where your localization was. Everyone loved that character, and then all of a sudden, Sephiroth just drops down and has a brand new sword scabbard. Alright? Spoiler alert. Actually, it's not much of a spoiler, because if you don't know it by now, you haven't been watching any of the games or playing any of them. Nevertheless, Sephiroth just impales Aerith, or Eris, doesn't really matter, on his blade. And that's the only reason he's memorable. It's the truth. Does anybody else, can you name anything else that Sephiroth tried to do? I can, because I played through Final Fantasy VII. He was part of the Genova project. He was trying to bring Genova back. And he had this grandiose plan of just accruing power. And he was one of the defects from the Mako project. There's a whole, yeah, it's like, there's all of these reasons why he should have been a memorable villain, but he just kind of was mid. And the reason he was mid is because he didn't do anything memorable except for stab Eris. That's it. You stabbed a well-beloved character. Like, outside of that, nobody cares, dude. And then instead, you had more memorable characters like Tifa Lockhart, Cloud, and Barrett. Now, why was Barrett memorable? Not only because he had a gun for a hand, but it's the fact that he was an interesting character. He had a personality all his own. He was like a rough around the edges kind of guy, and he reminded me a lot of B.A. Baracus from the A-Team. And that's pretty much what he was. He was like a B.A. Baracus clone. But he was still a memorable character. By all industry standards, they'd have watered him down by now. Tifa was a memorable character because of how she was. She was tomboyish, very upfront, very down to earth. She didn't take anybody's crap, but she had characteristic. She had an internal... I'm sorry, that was too loud in the microphone. She had characteristics. She had an internal feeling about herself. And... there we go, we got her. Now she can't move. But she had her own internal characteristics. She had character, which is what made her a memorable character. But see what happens when you make a character that doesn't really have an ideology? It's just, this is a character. This is their personality. This is how we're going to make her look because we're going to have her personality be not just, like what she says in text, but you're going to be able to see it by taking one look at her and say, yep, that's the rebellious, tomboyish woman, female brawler. Nailed it. And the character fits the characteristics. And that's all people needed to do. And that's literally the means of success.
Time has passed.
Like, there's 3 things to remember, okay? And the 3 things to remember when making any product, and it doesn't matter what you're making. Ooh, do not reset skill points. That is not allowed. There's only 3 things to remember when making any product. And it doesn't matter what product you pick. You could pick anything. Anything from food to firearms to video games to fans. It doesn't matter. The 3 things to remember are, is your product a quality product? Is it sold at a good price? And do you have excellent customer service? That's it. Product, price, and people. And I don't mean the people you're selling to, I mean the people in your company. The customer service in your company. Those 3 keys will get you to be a success no matter what you do when you're making a product or service. Your product or service, your price, and your people. And you only need to nail 2 of them. This is a true story. You could have a great product at a great price, but your customer service sucks because it gets, routed through 8 different phone companies. It comes back to some greasy guy named Paul that's sitting in his double wide trailer going, yeah, welcome for calling Widgets R Us. You got a problem? Well, what you done is you done over-torqued your widget. Now, when you over-torque your widget, you're going to have some problems. And he's just surly and irate with everybody, and he just doesn't like talking to people. Yeah, you have bad customer service. Yeah, it'll hurt your product a little, but people will be like, it's such a good game for a good price. You can't beat it. Or it's such a good, it's a high quality product. It doesn't break down, and it's cheap. It's the price point's perfect. Now, let's say you have great customer service and a great product, but the price is a little expensive. Like Bun coffee makers, for example. They're a little pricey, but it's an amazing product. And it's not only an amazing product, their customer service is, if you have a problem with your bun, send it back. We will send you a new one. Because we want to know why it broke. They have beautiful customer service, and they're great, great people. And they still do business. Now, you could have terrible product, great price, great customer service. It's like, yeah, the product's garbage, but it's cheap so you can get it back, and their replacement policy is amazing, and the people are kind and courteous. You'll still sell. You just got to nail 2 of the 3 factors, and you've got a winner. You nail all 3, you're never going to fail. Never. The only thing that'll happen is you'll get bought out by a conglomerate. And if you're not bought out by the conglomerate, they'll either sue you to death claiming copyright infringement, Palworld, or Palworld and Nintendo, or they'll turn around and say, oh, well, we bought their product and this is how it failed and this is what it did to our staff. It caused us pain and grief. And then they'll get you that way because these conglomerates want to buy out the competitors so that they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about their stranglehold. Happens a lot. Sorry I got a little political in there and talked about ideology in games, even though, like I said, my standpoint is that it is, I'm a classic gamer. I come from way back NES, VIC-20, Commodore 64, back when games, all they had was a game manual, a plot line, and pixels on a screen. And they didn't even need a plot line. Look at Pong. Look at Combat. Good games. Look at River Raid. Look at Battletoads. Battletoads. 3 toads, technically 2, are going to save the other toad and the princess. Cool. Nobody questioned it. They got angry because the game is difficult, especially the turbo tunnel. But I digress. The game was the game was a hit. Look at Contra. 2 dudes in bandanas being Rambo in the jungle. What for? To shoot aliens. Didn't need representation. Guys with guns. Guns go daka daka daka. That was it. Nobody cared. Everybody loved it. I'm from that era of gaming where the games were about, is it fun? Is it fun to play? And if it's fun to play it. That's it. Gaming's gone off into the weeds, and if they rectify those 2 things, they can bring it back. Now, there's other things that cause problems in gaming, microtransactions being one, but the way I see it is, I'll let that slide so long as your game, if you make a game that's free to play, and you have a free to play scheme that allows players to earn everything in the game that a paid customer can earn, then I have no problem with it. If you want to invest the time and be the equivalent of somebody that's got money and has not a lot of time, that's all it should be. Your microtransactions should be a shortcut because you don't have time. It shouldn't be, you use these microtransactions, you have a competitive edge. Because if the game is all skill-based, the competitive edge doesn't matter. The gear doesn't matter. So I'm fine with microtransactions so long as they're not overly egregious and so long as they are literally just, it's a shortcut. There are some that are a little egregious and out of sight and unsightly, and I think that they just need to stop doing it. Other than that, I have no problems with that model. But gaming's got some problems. and it needs to get those problems fixed if it wants to be around for the next era. And for those of you people out there that are like, oh, but you're just a boomer or whatever the term is today. If you're out there and you're saying to me you wouldn't get it, you don't know what it's like to not be represented, and it's like you're talking to a guy who was almost unilaterally disliked by everyone in the school. I know what it's like to not be represented and to feel out of place. I've been down that road. That's number one. Number two, you're also talking to a guy that's going to tell you, okay, here's Ghosts and Goblins. Play through it. Get to the real ending, which is a second playthrough of the game. If you can do that and say that game wasn't difficult, then we'll start ticking all these sorts of boxes for your games today. Because games today are far easier than games of yesteryear. And that's a fact. At any rate, I hope you had a great time watching. I had a great time making this video. And we got through Bloodraven. Had to pin her into a corner, otherwise she would run away. We got through Bloodraven. Next time we're gonna try to do Rakanishu, Darkwood, and maybe get to the Cathedral if we can. I'm hoping to have Andariel dead within 3 episodes. So they got this one, and then the next one is going to be hopefully getting to the Cathedral, and then the 3rd episode after that is going to be hopefully killing Andariel. But with how fast my wolves are dying, with me requiring more thought process and more focus on this, the dialogue will probably drop a bit. But it's getting tough. It's getting tough. I have to say normal was the toughest because just the Ravens, and then Nightmare was cake, and Hell difficulty is going to be terrible. Like, I'm going to have myself completely prepared for, like, Diablo, etc. So, we're hoping we can make it. If we make it all the way to Hell level and we beat it all, I'll come back, I'll save Wirt's leg from Hell level, and I'll do a cow level, and I'll see if I can beat the cow level. And if I complete the druid and I beat the cow level, then I will make another character, and we'll see what happens. I might even throw like a straw poll on that one. Tell me what character to make next. I'll see if I can do it. Because I do want to keep this series going. I think it's great. But I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.